Good morning, my fellow yoga travelers. Mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. It's Thursday, so it's my story day, one of my favorites. I first heard it through Ramakrishna, but then Joseph Campbell really popularized it for me. Once there was a tiger who, in giving birth to her cub, she passed away. And the cub, being the kind of mammal that has a small window of opportunity to bond to the maternal figure, went off in search of, it didn't even know, but it was trying to find a way to connect to the maternal instinct. Anyway, it came upon a herd of sheep, and the sheep, knowing the difference between a baby tiger cub with no claws and no teeth and a full-grown tiger, their natural predator, they took it in and they learned to treat it as one of its own. So the tiger cub grew up learning sheep ways. It gamboled about like a sheep. Even though it didn't have the hydrochloric acid in its stomach for grass, it learned to eat grass. And don't ask me how this happened, I'm just a storyteller, but it even learned to go, meh, meh. Well, one day when it was enjoying its new life, I shouldn't say new life because it didn't have any other life to compare it to, a full-grown tiger on the prowl saw this curious sight and thought to itself, what's that cub doing amongst the sheep? So it charges down into the flock, and the sheep now, they run for their lives because they know the difference between the real tiger and the tiger cub. But the tiger cub, innately having no fear of its own, it stood there blinking, saying, but where's everybody going? And then the big tiger came up to it and said, what are you doing here? And the little tiger looked up at it and went, meh. Oh, God. He was mortified. He grabbed it by the scruff of its neck and he brought it over to the local lake and said, look at yourself. You're like me. And now for the first time, the tiger cub was seeing its own true face as reflected in nature. And he looked at its face, and he looked up at the tiger, and he looked at his face, and he looked up at the tiger. He had to admit, he looked more like the tiger than he did the sheep. Now, I don't know how these things happen, but you know how these things happen. All of a sudden, from deep inside came Tiger Roar 101. Ah! It freaked the cub out. Where did that come from? But secretly, it felt good. Then the big tiger took it back to its cave where there was a recently killed gazelle, and he grabbed a chunk of bloody meat and said, here, eat. And the little cub went, but I'm a vegetarian. He said, we'll have none of that. And he shoved the meat in his maw. And the commentary says, he began to gag, choke, as all do on true scripture. But once he started to feel the nourishment of the food that he should have been eating from day one, once it was pulsing in his body, giving him the vitality, the proper nourishment that was rightly his own. I don't know how these happen, but you know how these happen. Tiger Roar 102. Ah! Oh, that didn't feel freaky at all. It felt pretty good. Then the big tiger said, all right, now let's go into the forest and I'll show you how to hunt for tiger food. So the moral of the story is people who are the naysayers and the haters, they may try to knock you off your perch from your yoga practice, trying to show you all the things that they poo-poo and don't believe, they're too woo-woo. So they may say when you get home from a class, so did your yoga teacher wrap your leg around your neck like a pretzel? No, he didn't do that. But you had to internally watch your navel move up and down, right? No, we didn't do that. Well, come on, did your yoga teacher have you autistically rock to the sound of your own om? No, we didn't do that either. Oh, well, did your yoga teacher have anything to say? Oh yeah, he had something to say. Well, what did he tell you? He said the purpose of practicing yoga is to discover your tiger face. All right, so for my journal writing friends, who are some of the leaders who have inspired you and been sources of empowerment for you, whether actually in your life, in history, a fictional character? Another way of thinking about it is when you walk in your front door, let's say there was a corridor and there were busts on either side as you walked through into your house, who would be the men, women, alive or not, fictional or not, who would be the ones that you'd be saluting because they're kind of like in your spiritual family? Then you know where your affinities lie. All right, my teacher reminds us always in terms of ethics, abstain from that which holds you back or retards you, and sustain that which is good and keeps you on the right path. That's called yama and niyama in yoga. And I guess you never end at having opportunities to be a virtuous person and continue to behave towards other people and toward yourself in a way we have a moral code and a high standard below which you choose not to fall below. And if you do, you find your own way of getting back on center. Now, in the story of the ugly duckling, there's one point where like the duck is kind of like frozen and a random stranger comes by and kind of hacks the duckling out of the ice. So be on the lookout. Occasionally a random stranger, a passing stranger, frees us in some way, even though they're not necessarily the one whom we really belong to. Just accept the act of kindness. And then remember, there's times when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, you can't stand it anymore. A sustaining ray of light appears out of nowhere to assist you, give you a respite, a little let up in the pressure. And in this way, you can see that the Spirit is always trying to pull you out, feed you, show you a secret passage, an escape route, giving you the strength to handle those times when you feel like you're in exile and you're really down. Now, what's really interesting in Kohut's self-psychology, he talks about, these are like big words, grandiose self-organization, which demands of yourself and others ways of acting and being that can never be fulfilled. It's a self-defeating prophecy, not a self-fulfilling. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that's self-defeating. And this identification with what I would call infantile grandiosity, when the little baby, just has the whole world kneeling, bowing to it, but it's expressed as an adult in what we call narcissistic personality disorder, where it's all about me. So see how true that is for you, or see if you can recognize in other people. And I would say be cautious around them, because they're usually trying to manipulate you into things that can never be fulfilled. All right, so part of what I'm always talking about is having a scan, putting out your radar for what offends you. Because it's hard to go through the day when there's so many things that are attacking you and you wish they weren't there, but they are there. Or another way of saying it, what's your behavior when the ship is going down? When things are out of control, do you lose completely? Do you find ways of trying to avoid it, trying to hide? Do you do something to addict yourself so you're numb to the pain? And remember, your whole relationship to the things that we call subconscious or unconscious is reciprocal. The unconscious mind takes its relationship to the ego with the same attitude that your ego takes to the unconscious mind. So if you think that what's in your unconscious mind, your subconscious mind, is a festering swamp of insanity, you're not going to want to go there. And you may have nightmares that show you your resistance to facing what they're trying to tell you, those things they're trying to tell you. But if you thought that the inside of yourself was the Library of Congress, the genetic inheritance of the whole evolution of the human family, all available to you if you could just perceive it, you'd have a very different attitude of what's going on beneath the surface, wouldn't you? Yes. So don't forget, even though things are difficult for so many people, and probably for each one of us in our own way, put a smile on your face. A smile in your personal contact with other people is like oil to a machinery. And no good engineer would neglect lubrication. So put the smile on. It might be the best thing that another person experiences today. You could pull them back off the edge just by a simple twinkle in the eye, an upturn of your mouth. And then always remember, my friends, put out what you want, because as soon as your own subconscious mind accepts whatever idea you give it and it has belief in it, it will affect you to the point where your inner mind will use all its knowledge, all its power of accomplishment and know-how, all of its resources to bring about the purpose of your idea. So I hope that you all are giving the best where you are and at all times, because once you realize your vibration is your point of attraction, go on a rampage of appreciation and be in harmony with what you want. Have a great day.